Namaskar, namaskar, namaskar. How are you, dear friend? Welcome. Welcome this morning. It's way too early for a lot of people and way late for a lot others who are in a different part of the world. It's an absolute pleasure for me to welcome you for the inaugural episode of Living Forward. And it's a joy to invite my dear friend, Joydeep Roy. It rhymed. It's a joy to invite my friend Joydeep Roy. He's a partner with PwC. He's the global leader for insurance and digital assets. And more importantly, he's somebody who is deeply interested in life and various things. So, we just got to know something very interesting. Welcome to real life, and we're going to talk about some interesting things. And I just get a reminder. It says we are having trouble streaming into LinkedIn. This may be an issue on LinkedIn's end. We'll keep trying and let you know if it's resolved. Please check LinkedIn to ensure the stream looks okay. All right. So let me see. I'm just trying to re-add something. So I'll just. It says re-added. Let me just try it, okay? Because this is the first time that it's happening, but let me just do it. If we can get everybody in place. And welcome to the new world, Joydeep, where things can suddenly change.
Yes, Ashish, and it's such a lovely name, Living Forward. You've heard of Fast Forward and all of these things. It's a lovely name. In fact, I don't know of anybody else who lived backward other than Benjamin Button, which is that on the screen. but as interesting as all conversations with you are, how do you think of this beautiful, interesting name?
So, Joydeep, for me, when I look at it, all of us, it's such an obvious thing that we live forward. But a whole lot of us, including me, and I'm sure all people, we have such devotion to the past. We have such devotion to the things that we have done, things that we haven't done. We live a lot of our days in memory of the past, and therefore this particular show, I was very keen that we will design it in a way that people find actually conversations which are actionable for the future. And the future, as it just shows, is as uncertain as technology is and as the world is. And therefore, living forward for me is the world of the discoverers. And when I am with people like you, it is so interesting. I will, if you don't mind, I'll just take a minute because we need to just set this right, because a lot of people are on LinkedIn and they are just giving. Let me just try and fix this. All right.
Absolutely.
I'll just fix this, friends. These are things that happen at times, and we have to deal with it. All right. Yes. I'm just trying to remove this and just try to get us back on LinkedIn. And so we really have to be on our job, Joydeep. That is one thing. And we are live on LinkedIn, so we didn't give up. So I'm very happy. So all those on LinkedIn who are just joining up, and there was a hiccup because we are live on other channels. Just to let you know, it's the inaugural episode of Living Forward, and it's my absolute pleasure to invite my dear friend Joydeep Roy as the first guest. He's a partner with PwC, and he's the global leader for their assets. And more than anything, Joydeep is a person who has specialized in many different things through his life. And he's a person whom I thought is a phenomenal person for us to begin this conversation. That as we are stepping forward, living forward, what do we need to put in place, both in terms of insurance as well as day-to-day life? Over to you, Joydeep.
Thanks, Ashish. And good morning to everybody. Glad that we are starting off something new with Ashish today. And among all the other shows, there's always that hint of uncertainty of the future, which we all carry. And I'm sure, whenever we are starting something new, this is something new. We don't know what to expect. I don't know about everybody else. everything sets a trend. So it's an awesome responsibility to start something new. And I've been part of many startups, and there's always that trepidation, there's this fear of the unknown.
Sure.
And this situation that we are in today, and you can call it the pandemic, we can call it a global economic situation, whichever way we call it, lenses might differ, but we have actually stepped off into the unknown. None of the models had really foreseen such a thing.
Sure.
So
Joydeep, let's be very clear. All of us, through our life, in our personal life, with our financial life, with what we want to do with our career, what we want for our loved ones, we all want one beautiful thing called assurance, right?
That's right.
We all want assurance. Tell me, you will do it, na? I remember buying a fridge and a television after I got married. A lot of money spent that just over that time. And I asked him, listen, cheez achhi hai na? All that I was wanting was some assurance. And this gentleman tells me, चिंता ही मत करिए साहब, 2-3 साल तक टेंशन ही नहीं करना. मैं क्या बात बोल रहा है यार, 2-3 साल. So we all want assurance in life, dear friend. And I'm speaking to somebody who's an expert at insurance. Can you just take us through that? Where does assurance end and insurance begin?
In many countries, funnily enough, assurance and insurance are synonymous. In many insurance companies in the world, even in India, are called assurance. We have called names which end with assurance, so they are synonymous. But if you dig deeper, assurance is something which we all feel very comfortable with mentally, psychologically. It's like you tell, just to give an example, we look for assurance from friends and colleagues and our superiors at work or family. But assurance is everything except the monetary part. And insurance is actually the sole aim of insurance is to financially bring you back to a situation which you were in before the disaster had struck. So insurance is entirely a financial instrument which has been created over 2,000 years, gradually, and therefore what we see today as insurance, where there's an amount of money which you expect.
So essentially, insurance gives a financial risk mitigation. It tells you very clearly that you're stepping into a future and there is risk.
There is risk.
And through monetary means, if it is going to help you, I'm going to mitigate that risk, at least monetary.
Monetarily, and that too only to bring you back to your earlier situation, which means no one can profit from insurance. It's not you can just come back. For example, if you insure your house, and the house breaks, you can't get the market value of the house, but you can get the money to reconstruct your house. So it's a mitigation tool. That's what perfectly put.
Yeah. And where did it all begin? Did it begin with houses or it began somewhere else? Where did it begin?
So it began, well, if you look at two kinds of insurance. Life insurance has to do with human beings, and the other is assets insurance, which is all your house and car and everything. Life insurance actually started about 2,200 years back. It is the Roman army. How did people rustle up armies in those days? They used to get all the farmers and all the other odd job laborers to come and say, hey, come on, we'll lead you to battle, you might die, but by the way, there's a lot of loot to be done, a lot of pillaging, and you get paid. But it is a fact that a lot of people died, and their families had no other means of sustenance. So within the Roman army, they started a pooling system where they pooled in their wages, the weekly wages, they pulled in some amount of it, and they made sure that money is available to go to families of people who died at war. So conceptually, the concept of insurance started in the Roman army. Realistically speaking, life insurance, real life insurance as we know about it today, which is institutional, which goes with actuarial tables, it started with Johannes Kepler. Kepler, who made the laws of planetary motion, came out of the first laws of this actuarial table. Yes, Kepler.
So Kepler is speaking of planetary orbits, and he's talking of actuary.
That's wow. He came out of the first official mortality tables on which the insurance that you know about today. But the Roman times, which we talk about, by the way, exists even today. These are cooperatives, these are mutuals, and some of these have developed into the largest insurance companies in the world, which are mutuals, which are based on the old Roman army principle of pooling in money and everybody having a stake in it.
Wow.
So there are two kinds
You're
of...
actually, the context of insurance, as I understand now, is actually pooling in risk. So people, everyone is pooling in a bit. So there are 2 points which came out very interestingly in this, and that's wonderful. One is that we are all pooling in. All right.
Yeah.
The idea is not to profit. The idea is to come back so as to what you invested or closer to that you get back.
That's right. I mean, so, not what invested. It's what you would need to have your lifestyle. Okay. Exact same lifestyle as you had. So you might have invested much lesser, but everybody's investment is also there, and that comes in. It's not investment really, pooling. That's why I'm saying pooling. There's no gain out of it. Is that people pull in the money, 100 people pull in, one person dies, he gets a lump sum. Now that's the concept of insurance. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's an element of costs and administration and all that, which have evolved over time. And the non-life insurance started in the Lloyd's Cafe in London. Mm-hmm. And there's an interesting story that it started almost with something akin to betting, saying that whose ships may drown on sea. And so people actually pulled in some money, and they wrote on chits of paper in the cafe on the bills. And whoever wrote underneath, actually his bid it stood. And that's where the word underwriting comes from.
Underwriting, aha.
It comes from underwriting, literally, on the back of those chits at the Lloyd's Cafe in the 17th century in London. And from that, obviously, the whole concept of this, shipping insurance, which is marine today, and all these cars and homes that you see today, all insurance, those things.
So it all stems, Joydeep, from I promise you that I will, in case this happens. So I'm pooling in money, putting it in a place which is assuring me in a way that I shall pay you back.
That's
so in
right.
these,
so
yeah, you go on. Yeah. So again, we come back to assurance. Like even as I pool in my money, even if I pool in the money, I need somebody who assures that they will return back that money.
Yes, and therefore, what comes through, is depending on that, promise. And you talked of a promise. You say there's a promise. Yes, there is a promise, and therefore it's a belief in that promise, which makes people take that insurance for a rainy day.
So here is now we are coming down to the thing. Now, going into the absolute future right now, where one thing which is really at a premium, or if it's completely missing, is my ability to deliver on a promise.
That's right.
Right. So earlier I had made provisions to fulfill my promise. Now it could be for the smallest organization to a largest organization. Yesterday we were talking to a very large organization, legacy organization, and they said that there can only be an amount of time till the organization can hold on, till they take whatever steps that they need to. So in these moments where risks are far outnumbering the hedging possibilities, what happens to the insurer? How does the insurer function in this kind of a scenario?
So, the whole concept being pooling, people keep pooling upwards. So, for example, in normal situation, let's forget what we are in right now. We are in a truly unprecedented global situation. But normally, if an insurance company has insured somebody in India or somebody in Thailand, then they would also like to hedge their bets. So they reinsure. So there are reinsurers, global reinsurers who take some money from the insurers as premium, and they'll take a global risk. What happens is, in that situation, you don't expect every country to have the same earthquake at the same time. You don't expect same forest fire at the same time to hit California and Australia or any other part of Africa. So therefore, the hedging and the pooling and hedging and pooling and hedging, which is a continuously happening situation cycle, that keeps on happening till people achieve a sense of comfort that, yes, I have spread my risk around properly. Today's situation is very different. Today's situation is that 200 countries are affected. So if
all at one go,
almost at the same time, definitely in the same calendar year. So which means whatever you had aimed for or provisioned for, those are not really going to work. At the same time, please remember that most people do not take pandemic insurance because no one, see, insurance is a choice. Taking insurance is a choice, and I always, feel that everyone thinks that nothing's going to happen to me, my business, my situation. So people try to minimize taking of insurance, and that has happened. So globally, while there will be large-scale insurance claims being paid for various things, pandemic insurance is not there everywhere in the world, and people are going to have to fend for themselves because they have not taken that insurance. So, yeah, you're right. Some organizations, some institutions will face existential challenges, definitely. Not only because of the pandemic, but because of the economic, the cycle, the vicious cycle which is following.
Now, Joydeep, if we can now just take this conversation just from specifically insurance to all other sectors. Now, consider we may not have put all the eggs in one basket, but wherever we had kept our baskets, the tremors have been felt. So we had it put in different baskets, except that, this entire thing has gotten messed up. Now, typically in this scenario, okay, now this is, I know I'm putting you in a fix, but I just want to get this figured out. See, we all knew that there were experts, people who knew what to do. All right. We knew, there were experts who said that, therefore I did this and therefore I did this. And all of us, and experts, they may have been called soothsayers by the world, but experts were people who had actually relied a lot. They had done a lot of detailed thing. They had, followed how the metrics repeated itself. Now, I was watching the other day an interview, a piece which Barack Obama was talking of, I think 4 years back or 5 years back, when he spoke of actually that how can we be prepared for a pandemic of sorts which spreads by air, all right? And are we ready for it? Now, that was also brought out now because it was a conversation. It was more in the zone of sci-fi, all right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, imagine with the concept of Armageddon now happening around us, where that virus, it is spread into our conscience. Now, in this kind of a place, what does a normal human being do stepping forward at work, in life?
So, Ashish, all my life, and I have come across two kinds of experts all my life, and this is something which is realization sort of seeped in as we went through several other crises, like the 9/11 crisis, the financial crisis of 2008. So we've gone through many crises, no doubt, and some of which felt like Armageddon, and it all lies in kind of fear. But the two kinds of experts I've seen, one kind of expert is an expert who has continuously done the same thing, maybe with increasing complexity, increasing competence, years and years, over decades, and now is being termed as the expert in the world, right? Who has done it so many times. That person knows how to solve this problem in his or her sleep. Now that is the expert who can actually solve definitive problems, not
so that expert has got remarkable muscle memory, and they can recall it. They have done it even in sleep. So phenomenal.
That's right. So and phenomenal, and they are very valuable, and they're revered, and they're like the toast of the world. But the second kind of expert is an expert who has picked up skills, ability to absorb issues, ability to look at problems with a different lens, different points of view, ability to assimilate solution, and build her own toolkit to solve problems. Now, that kind of expertise, which is also born out of experience, but not limiting oneself to that one particular narrow band of knowledge, but going beyond and thinking how to solve problems is going to be something which is more and more valuable in the future. We all have been
Very interesting. Very interesting. What you are saying is that this kind of an expert, so one kind of an expert is who knows how to use the hammer and the chisel or the pen or the stylus. All right. So, and they've been doing it very well in their expertise. And imagine having the ability to use the hammer and the chisel and the stylus and the pen in different ways. All right.
Or to use something else for it when hammer is not available.
Yes.
Hammer is not available anymore.
Hammer-like.
Yes.
Hammer-like. And I think you just brought out another very interesting thing, that consider this, and I'm just trying to see, I'm an actor and I'm a creative being, and I kind of try and imagine, see, when I look at a particular issue, so we look like creativity for us is not just doing what you do with what you have, is in a world of improvisation where we do what all can you do with what you have. All right. Now, what I've also gathered when you just said, you said something very interesting. So that expert, not only has she hasn't relied only on the instrument, but also worked on the thoughts which have gone into the use of that scalpel. And so therefore the scalpel is just a tool, is not an end in itself.
Exactly. It's a mere tool, and it's another tool. It's just another tool which happens to be available at this point of time, and people have been using it. Why not use something else?
And can it be used differently? And you did mention, Joydeep, and I want to pick your brains on that. Will this be a time for collective intelligence to be put to use?
Well, very important. I think that's something which is more and more emerging in the world, that it's instead of relying on individuals, and individuals can only do such an extent, to an extent, one has to rely on a conglomeration, a team which is multifunctional. In fact, the word gig economy keeps floating around, and everybody wonders about what is the workplace going to be, how is work going to be done in the future? Is it going to be done like regimented army kind of teams where everybody knows exactly what to do, they're told to do, and they go do their job and come back home and that's it? Or is it going to be creative teams where no one single person exactly knows the role, but they figure out, they find out, and those teams. So there is this concept of which we talk about a lot nowadays about how do you distinguish between the value that someone brings into an organization? How do you define it? Is it the job that you've done today, or is it the people you have mobilized or you have inspired, or is it what kind of future capabilities you're creating? So therefore, the importance of the collective, importance of teams, importance of looking at how this band of people can create, just like music, as a band of people can create music, is becoming important. You look at the way startups are funded nowadays. Earlier, it used to be one individual, standing up. Now, the VCs and everybody, they look for teams. They look for effective teams. They look at what is the relationship between the teams.
Sure.
They look at how have they come together. What do they share as a goal? It doesn't matter what individually they do. What collectively they produce.
What are they producing collectively? In fact, that's such an interesting one, Joydeep. And the question comes up for me that as you move forward, for example, when we improvise our way ahead, we actually are just in a journey. This scenario for me is akin to that. Each morning as we wake up, I wake up, people around me awake. I'm just realizing that if I am trying to look for solutions today, I'm hitting a brick wall. Okay. If somebody says, okay, so what do I do today? And that's where the brick wall is. When we are all saying we are giving up hope because I do not see that end of the tunnel at this point. And, for me, through my career, through my life, Joydeep, one thing which I have discovered is that uncertainty is something which, the people who have got their regular jobs, they kind of seem to love to talk about it. Talk to an actor, my friend. My life has only been uncertain. Talk to all of us people who have been, involved in the gig economy. We never had a certain day in our life. Never had a certain day. And each day was just about being bigger than this moment in service of a dream. Now I'm really how I see it when you spoke of teams, and it's so interesting that Deepali is right here, and Deepali is somebody who has worked with you over the years. Will it now be so much more the role of the leader to not just look like a leader today, but to have the confidence of the team to move them through the labyrinth called today, tomorrow, and day after, and have the back of the team, and the team has the leader's back as we maneuver through this path. Because our past expertise, past phenomenal things is not going to work now. Will the role of the inspired leader be so much more now?
So I think nothing has changed. I think it was equally valuable in the past, Ashish, equally valuable, in fact more so, when we went through some major societal changes. I mean, we just don't realize what we've been through. The whole computer revolution, the whole internet revolution. Companies have moved. In fact, the top 50 companies in 1980, 1990, and 2010 are all totally different. Now, they have happened in a fashion that it's the common person, 8 billion people have not thought about it. Now everybody's thinking about it. So let's look at a leader. Who is a more valuable leader? A fantastic leader who leads beautifully, takes the team to the desired goal and makes all achievements happen? Or the leader who creates everybody along in the team into another leader? So creating more leaders, is that more valuable? Because end of the day, again, as going back to the expertise thing, a leader can be successful once or twice alone leading the team. But if the leader does not build leaders, one will not survive. So the sustainable organizations, sustainable society, sustainable groups of people have always been those where leaders have been replicated. You look at the most successful 100-year companies. Look at the companies. They have always created leaders, and some of those leaders have not found a place in their own company all the time, and they moved off to become leaders in another company, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. It's like a university. But that's where you find that those companies sustain longer. Organizations which are built on one leader, organizations which too much depend on one person, go through the biggest choppiness. They might survive, they might get extinct, but they go through huge amount of choppiness, and that's been always true. It's not today's situation. In fact, today is not so different. So look at what happened, Ashish, 2001, 9/11. The whole travel industry changed. The whole hotel hospitality changed. And we were irritated because we had to go through those metal detectors. We had to go through so much of security and frisking. And for a long time, we were thinking, we are getting irritated about it. It's just like the masks and sanitizers today. But we got used to it, didn't we?
So what you're essentially saying is that kind of business, that kind of work, that way of working will alter. But we'll have to find new ways.
We always have to find new ways. And if we don't find new ways, like Newton said that, I saw farther because I stood on the shoulders of giants, which means he actually respected the work which was done before, the experience which he got from others. And then on top of that, stood on top of that and tried to do something more. Try to look into the future and say, well, what lies in the future? How can I make myself more relevant to the future? Because there's no point in talking about what I did in the last 30 years. I have to talk of the next 20. So that's something which, well, it was always important. I think what this pandemic has done is to bring all these issues to the surface and make people reevaluate all of these much more consciously.
And we are hearing a lot of people, who have worked with you over the years. Speaking of you, somebody who is, who's walking the talk, who has walked the talk over the years and nurtured. So here is the thing, Joydeep. through this journey of yours, as you said, and I really kind of believe, because somehow we are tending to give this crisis a huge, big, more power than as if before this there was no other crisis in our life. And as you rightfully said, that we have had crises after crises, and in each of those times it looked like nothing can be bigger than this, and nature and world does surprise us.
Yes.
And at each of those crises, tipping moments, that those inflection moments, does the leader have to come very close to her own vulnerability?
So showing vulnerability is the biggest hallmark of strength. It's like the saying that being scared is a reality. Hiding being scared is a weakness. Because if I cannot move away from reality, right? Because reality is that, okay, I am scared. There's nothing wrong with it. Showing vulnerability is an extremely important element of trust. So trust among teams, trust between family members, trust between friends, trust between organization to organization, country to country, builds upwards if vulnerability is expressed. We talk of this safe space. Nowadays, all these terminologies are very, going around saying safe space. What is
Pandemic.
a safe space?
It's a pandemic of
So what is a safe space? So Ashish, when you and I talk together, when we talk very openly, frankly, and if the best of conversations happen when we believe it's a safe space, we can show our vulnerabilities and ask, saying, "Hey, I'm really not sure. Can you help me?" Now that is the biggest element of trust. And if you conversely look at it, trust is what really makes the world go around. It's not love and fresh air. Really, it's trust. So I think in situations to find solutions, to work with teams, people have to show vulnerability and get to be more genuine with each other and to engender trust. That takes a lot of courage.
It takes, yes. And one of the things that I kind of, when I love to interact. So if we just look at it, yes, this is, it says that it takes a lot of courage, and I do an exercise with a lot of people at times, and it works, as an actor also. It's that three powerful words, and how comfortable or how uncomfortable are we if we try and speak it. Then those three words are, I don't know. And I don't know is something which is so scary. And especially when you are a leader, when you are an expert, you're known for being an expert. And when you are stepping into a zone called, which is, it's very clearly telling you that I was talking yesterday to my friend Sanjay Muthal, and he says that there are two voices. One voice speaks to the world, one voice speaks to you. And this voice is telling you that I don't know. But this voice tells you, don't you dare tell others that I don't know. What if they say, what? You don't know. And just this, and this is something which we even use in terms of when we create characters. So the most real moment of the character is when we can get to that tragic flaw of that character. That makes it, that creates the magic of it. Oh, for example, for me, those moments, and I remember in life, it was a time in life that time, years back, my father used to buy those second-hand magazines and bring it. There was a photograph of John Fitzgerald Kennedy taking a walk in the Rose Garden, black and white photograph, just before he ordered the Bay of Pigs or one of those things, all right? So, and I have always felt that with an array of advisors, with an array of people around, it's finally that leader who's going to go beyond that moment of doubt, which says, I don't know, but beyond that moment of doubt and says, let's go for it.
Yes, absolutely.
Joydeep, isn't this going to now play a role for the leader who says, we will deal with it, but let's go for it?
Well, it paid off 37 years back, for exactly almost to the day, June 25th, 1983, we won the World Cup, right? The world. And I think the world was never the same for Indian sports after that. And I can't think of any kind of scientific analysis or self-conviction which brought that team to think they can be champions. It was something which was, they dug deep they sort of said, we want to be champions, and what if nobody considers us to be in the running? That particular Tunbridge Wells Kapil Dev's innings was not telecast because BBC thought that the other two matches were more important. India. So from that situation where nobody is giving you any kind of odds, digging deep, and by the way, it's so difficult. Imagine a conversation happening, to the saying that, oh, we want to be champions. What the hell?
What?
Some people,
you mean you want to win one test? You want to win one match?
Some team members actually had bought holidays in the US because they thought they'll be out after the group stage, because that has been the tradition. That is the expertise of the past. From there to dig deep, look at the captain. That time that the captain's role, which was a young captain, dealing with older team members, all steeped in the past, people who have played the last 2 World Cups and have got defeated, saying, no, we want to win. So I think that human ingenuity has always found a solution. It's not, again, coming back to the collective. Nobody can say who will find it, who will make the best of it, who will do it. But I think if we keep believing in the fact that we, with no nails or teeth, we have overpowered animals in prehistoric times who had nails and teeth and who were far more ferocious. How did we survive? We survived and thrived. We survived and thrived. And there were extinction-like things. Don't you think the Black Death was an extinction situation? Yeah, it was. So many.
The plague was. Since then, the plague was. So many things.
So many plagues. The bubonic, the pneumonic, and then there were people just used to kill each other. Wars used to happen. Second World War. What were people thinking in those days? Our fathers who lived through that. What did they think? 1940, 42. What were people thinking? Was there any future? But future happened. So future will happen. I think people who believe in a future and try to create for the future, get ready for a future which is more uncertain, which means more dynamic, are going to thrive. Either way.
Very clearly and very well articulated, Joydeep, that to have that belief in that future, and that future which is not being seen now. Because somewhere or the other, it is the leader who has to speak into disbelief. It's a bit like that match, and when people have even, some people probably even in the team, as you said, had booked elsewhere. And that ability to speak into disbelief, and this is where my personal passion is passion. And yes. I personally feel that, you may not have many things going for you. Okay. And people also may not be believing in you. And it is that personal drive and that passion which actually galvanizes people and groups of people together. Otherwise, it's a solo dream. It's like, I was alone and I had a dream, and then somebody stands on a lectern and says, I have a dream. Yes, I have a dream. And just imagine when that I have a dream resonates with so many. So this, as I can so well kind of imagine, this is really an opportunity for probably individual leaders in organizations which we haven't even heard of.
True.
And
absolutely.
If those individual leaders can galvanize their teams to believe in things far beyond what people around are even imagining.
And sometimes the answers lie within. If I can tell you a quick story about what happened with this digital transformation which happened in the world. Kodak invented the digital camera, virtually invented the digital camera, because they thought that the people with film rolls had only 36 or 70, whatever number of films to be shot, and that was a limitation. So Kodak invented the digital camera thinking that people will now click 100, 200 photos and actually print them, because 96% of their revenues and their profits came from the printing liquids, chemicals, paper. The cameras were just free. It's just like inkjet printers. The inkjet printer is free. The inkjet printer ink is actually what you pay for. Same thing, Kodak did that. So Kodak put out digital cameras all over. They just pushed it out. And so did Fuji. Now Fuji and Kodak is to dominate the chemicals industry. And so what happened? Within 15 years, Kodak had to file for bankruptcy because people never printed anymore. People stopped printing because the internet revolution took over, and you are sharing photos, you are posting photos and not printing anymore. What did Fuji do? Fuji would have also become bankrupt. But that particular year when Kodak went bankrupt, same year was Fuji's largest profitable year in history. How? Because Fuji figured out that yes, this is going to happen. We are going to get swamped. We are going to get completely demolished on printing. But they figured out that 2,000 of the chemicals that they had stocked, they had built for film developing, had collagen, which is a very important piece for skin. So Fuji's beforehand, about 10 years before that event, that extinction event of Kodak, they started a cosmetics company.
They diversified.
Focusing on skin cosmetics. So in 2011, when Kodak files for bankruptcy, Fuji Cosmetics becomes the third largest cosmetic company in Japan. So your answers may lie in. Maybe already you have the answers. You have to dig deep and look at it from different angle and then push it up.
And so interesting that this conversation began with insurance and hedging, and what you just what you have kind of just said is that if we can just not depend on the insurance companies to insure you, if businesses and people and if we can dig into deeper parts of ourselves and discover how we can hedge ourselves in terms of our profession, yes, in terms of our offerings, in terms of what else we can create with what we have, as you said, and what we don't have, if we can start collaborating with even others,
it's like
make some very odd partners.
Exactly. We shouldn't be waiting for Godot, right? As Samuel Beckett put it. If we keep on waiting for Godot to come and solve all our problems, then we will be forever waiting. Finally, we have to find our own solutions, no doubt.
Finding Godot is like finding Godot in yourself. So very interesting. And as we are going through all of this, there is such a lot of news of morbidity and, all that, the morbid news and the sharings and stuff like that. And, even if the short period, the 45 minutes that you and I have been in conversation, something which also inspires me when I'm in communication with someone like you, Joydeep, is that we are talking of the way forward. Okay, what else? Or kya hoga? How can? Even if it is not can, it is how can, what can, who can, and looking at ways. Now, in this entire thing, does it also make sense if we can have a smile and have a twinkle in the eye about the present?
So, do we have a choice? I never see any other choice than to smile and look at look at what we can find pleasure in, because the alternative is a vicious cycle, right? And we hear so much of that nowadays. And believe me, there was this beautiful Rafi song, Mohammed Rafi song, दुख हो या सुख जब सदा संग रहे ना कोई फिर दुख को अपनाइए कि जाए तो दुख ना होए. This is a doha, right? So Rahi Manwa, that Dosti ka song from Rafi. Now this question is, if we get, I believe we have always got a choice. We as in personally, and this is not about collective. Now let's bring it to personal. We always have a choice to feel bogged down, to feel just like the corner, to feel back to the wall, to feel there's
fatigued, down, out, feeling like lost and being drained out.
Exactly, mentally, physically. But what's that going to lead to? Is it ever going to lead to, let's say, can we just sleep off tonight saying, oh, tomorrow's another day? But if tomorrow's another day is not going to solve that mental problem that we have, we can't solve all the problems around, but we can definitely help ourselves. So unless we are solution oriented, unless we are looking at the right pieces, and unless we have some, we have to go and find some pleasure. I find pleasure in looking up some, some cricket things which happen, some music,
and your quizzing,
and
your
quizzes.
Arsenal, yeah. So how important is following your passion to kind of rejuvenate yourself? Because I personally feel that I love to do many things, Joydeep. I've been and so I find myself re-energized when I move from one world to another world and it just keeps me. I'm a rejuvenated actor. I'm a rejuvenated interact when I do interactions with my organizations. So, I love to rejuvenate myself by taking mind off the only thing that I'm supposed to be doing. How important is that for you? Doing many things, and I know you do quite a few things.
So before I say that, I must say one more thing you do, which just said, you do rejuvenate, you do all of these things, but you not only do that yourself, you share it out. You call a lot of people. You say, let's do it together, let's share, which I find rejuvenating when I'm talking to you, when I'm here. That's infectious. Coming back to me, I think it's always been extremely important. I love to doodle and sketch. I love music, love listening to music.
Hey, you showed me one sketch of yours. Is that sketch there? Can you just pull it out?
Let me see if it's there.
Yeah, so you showed it to me.
Yeah, I started sketching again. After many years. So I picked up some Satyajit Ray sketches and started sketching them again, saying, okay, he did this for his film, and I thought, let me also do this.
Gosh.
I tried a self-portrait with my bearded look. I don't know if it looks like me or not. So I think it's important to go back to what you can and find pleasure in. I find great pleasure in quizzes. I find great pleasure in asking and answering and trying to figure out questions. I find great pleasure in solving, my standard 12 maths problems. A projectile problem. Yesterday I found a projectile problem. I gave it to my son. Say, hey, I've done it. Can you do it? Well, he did it in 30 seconds. It's a different issue. But I found great pleasure that I can still solve them. Looking at trivia.
The child. Joydeep, I see the child.
It is the curious child. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And the child who has a twinkle in his eyes.
So isn't it a crime if we lose the child in ourselves?
Isn't it a crime? Oh gosh! Oh, you bet it is, my friend.
It's Father's Day, Ashish, and the child is the father of man. Nobody is a father without a child, and all that Vatsalya Ras which we talk about as a father comes out.
Yeah,
it's all because of a child. Now the child which is inside us, let it come out at times. So I think we should do that and then enjoy. Because nobody's going to come and solve all your problems, right?
Absolutely. In fact, as we, for me, something which excites me in life is excitement, and the joie de vivre you have as you step into a day. Now, the point here is that what I even liked about the sketch, it is not a masterpiece, but it's made by you, and you could do something that you wish to do. I have seen you participate in Antaksharis. I've heard from Pilu, and I have also at home or otherwise on Zoom, you've done Antaksharis. What I find fantastic about you, and this is something which I really want people to, it's not a question that we are continuously, you somehow are not judging yourself, Joydeep. And I really appreciate that because that allows you to dive into many different worlds. And that there is some world which is you are an expert in, undoubtedly, but you also fully participate in worlds which you are passionate about. So how important will it be for people in this, as we are stepping into the new, where we are going to discover far more things that we are not adept at? Can we go fully out and play those things also which we are not adept at? Who knows what we can bring into it?
And for who knows what you can suddenly show a natural talent for? You don't know.
Exactly.
You tried, right?
And we will call it natural talent.
Yeah. So till you've tried and failed, what's the point? So we have one life, right? And we have one shot at things. Sometimes, one chance. Like I remember this guy. In fact, take that example. This guy used to work for us, a very young colleague in the Tata Insurance Company. He always loved to sing. He always thought he will sing, but he used to work, right? Like everybody gets trapped in a career in a salaried job. And then there was this big Shankar Mahadevan show which was happening, and he was there. And he just walked up. And waved his hand, and Shankar called him on stage, and he said, generally, just like that, that's any other person saying, just to lend a mic to a couple of times. And he sang. He sang so well that he was appreciated. He got some breaks. He left his job. And for the last, say, 10 odd years, 12 years, he has been a full-time singer in Bangalore. He does corporate programs. He does musical things. 12 years, he's he's known as star singer Shankar. And,
Kya
so
baat.
it's amazing. Now he got over that fear to go up on stage and sing with Shankar. So I was present at that occasion, so I know what happened that day. And look at him today. So I think people have to get out of their shell. I mean, somebody has done it, right? So why can't we just try?
Somebody has done it, and somebody who wasn't supposed to be good. And in fact, stepping into this future, Joydeep, I see this future as a perfect example of an imperfect future. All right, this is an imperfect future that we are walking into. It has all the qualities that we did not want in a future. Had we, had we wanted, we would have wanted many other things. We would have wanted predictability in it. We would have wanted everything glowing and beautiful, correct temperature. It's all wrong, and it's filled with imperfections. In this imperfect world, Joydeep, I personally feel that really, when the child crawls into, when the child crawls out of home, looks out, it is nothing that the child has ever seen. And there are perils and there are dangers. Will it make sense, my friend, at this point, to do things daring rather than just being stopped by the possible perils? And that's the point I really want to, take this conversation into.
So whenever, I think of the first set of seafarers who just ventured onto sea, looking at the stars for navigation.
And right, when the earth was supposed to be flat.
That
you could follow.
You could follow that side, and then you look back and see you can't see shore anymore. You have right and left hand side, it's all sea. And only thing which you think is guiding you are the stars. And then there's clouds come in and storms come in. Now, how would they have felt? This is the pioneer's curse, as it's called. That you've taken the pioneer's role, but nothing prepares you for nothing ever.
Sure.
When you get out, when you first get out to work or first get out to another country, another city, first come out to stay alone, nothing prepares you for that. It's just if your faith in the future is there and your desire to succeed is there, you find a way. But you don't know at this point of time. It's like if you've not gone there, you don't know how you're going to find your answers. You can't wait for all the lights to turn green before you go out of the house.
Absolutely.
You know the lights are going to turn green. You also know some lights are going to be red and you have to wait.
Sure.
You know that some road might have a clogging. You might have to wait for half an hour instead of zipping through, but you don't know which one. And if you're prepared to go on that road, you reach your goal. And so I think in our future looks perfect for a certain period, let's say, and the period is changing, but that concept of a period is changing. So parents knowing everything about how their children will succeed is going to change, because they're going to work in jobs which are not invented yet.
Got changed.
So what advice do you give? Yeah, changed.
We both are parents to kids, and we don't know what they're going to do, and they're studying, and they're in this completely volatile times in two different continents. And
in this 2 years, Ashish, last 2 years itself, they have themselves changed their streams and the subjects already, because they are seeing a little more of the future than we are seeing out here. They'll keep seeing more. So I think the future imperfect is such a wonderful way of putting it, that you have future is always going to be imperfect. We are always going to be imperfect. So then why fear? I think one imperfect future will always welcome the imperfect.
Another imperfect. Fantastic. I love this, Joydeep Roy. I just love this, and I just love what I love about this moment is that that we are talking of, if imperfection is meeting imperfection, dar kis baat ka dost? Kis baat ka dar? Okay.
Exactly.
And when we say that, so therefore, as I have, as I step into things, and I've been doing quite a few new things in my life, through my life, one thing which is always, and I joke with my friends about it, that at best you will laugh at me, but you can't insult the insulted. I never said that. I'm open to it, because I mean, if you insult me saying that you didn't know how to do it, yes, I didn't. But one thing which you cannot ever blame me for is that I didn't want to, or I don't intend to, I don't want to ask, I don't want to learn. And I really think, Joydeep, that this is the time, if we can leave our legacy and keep that, the two things that you so beautifully brought out. So imagine it were the experienced who step out. They were the seafarers, okay? They were the pioneers, And the pioneer did not wait for the past light to light them up. They allowed the morrow to light them up. And I think if we can all see ourselves as generation zero of this, we are the pioneers from now on. And if we can allow this new future to light us up.
Completely, and to teach us. The future will teach us, and we better learn. Learning and being a student all life, I think, is the best favor we can do to ourselves.
Joydeep Roy.
Let's do it. Yeah.
This has been one invigorating one. We've got some very, very interesting questions which have been coming up, and we can just take a few of them. Yeah. We can't really. Chainika Sarkar says, when we complete a painting, that gives us an unspoken satisfaction. We can't really describe it in words. Somebody's asking, can we have a recording of this session? Yes, it'll be available here and on YouTube. All right.
So, a painting, can I make a comment on that? A painting is
yes, please. Yes,
I
please.
think that the photograph is complete because if you have taken it, it's done. I mean, you can do photoshopping, but a painting is never complete. No, it's kind of artist normally moves on from one painting to another.
I just
but
love
there's
it.
always that thing. Well, you can fill that. What you're taught is that you have to fill everything by color, right? You can't leave negative blank space. But even if you do that, is it ever complete?
No.
Then it's not an art.
I love this,
Art
and
is
in fact, Pilu's also listening in, and Pilu has been your batchmate and on JU. And she says something very beautiful. It really inspires me. And she says, one painting each day. And what she actually means is that she's adding a stroke to that painting.
Yeah.
And each stroke that you add, you and I and all of us add to our painting, all right, it just makes it a new one.
Totally.
And so what started off as a questions between assurance and insurance, we've reached a point where we are saying that the modern human being is condemned to be free, as Sartre said, and condemned to be free to paint their own paths, create their own opportunities, and have people along with them as they do it. One human being, another.
You do, yeah. So. Follow.
Thank you, Joydeep.
Thank you, Ashish.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Morning. I don't know whether people realized we have taken their time away from watching the solar eclipse.
This is amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time on a Sunday morning, and thanks to you, we'll set. So next Sunday at 11 a.m., I'm going to meet Uma Aisola. She's a health expert. She will be talking to us about, just as Joydeep took us through how insurance and businesses are going to function. She's going to take us through how health and the way we are looking at things around us, how we can make it systemic for ourselves, and how organizations would need to do it for them to grow. So that's happening in the second episode of Living Forward. But before that, on Saturday, I'm going to meet Rajesh Jani from Dell, and we're going to have a meandering conversation about nukes of life. That's happening on Saturday, and next Sunday, the second episode of Living Forward. Over to you, Joydeep. You're saying something.
So, Living Forward, I'm glad to be here on the inaugural show. It's wonderful to be part of something new, some start. It is a landmark. Honored, Ashish. And just like to leave a thought with everybody. Since we started this insurance, with the conversation of insurance, and you talked about health in a moment, I think people need to just think about it, that what is true insurance? Insurance takes care of some financial things, but health, education, and cleanliness are the three real pillars of insurance of a society and civilization.
Where we are insuring ourselves.
Yes, everybody's job to do this. So health, education so as to take care of generation after generation being better and bigger. Health, live better, and cleanliness, which is next to godliness. So I think these three things, if we take care of, we are doing our bit of ensuring our future paths that we draw. And
this is one thing we should be washing our hands. So cheers to washing our hands, keeping ourselves clean in a systemic way. Thank you so much, my friend. Bahut bahut shukriya, Joydeep. Thank you, each one of you who have attended today's session. We look forward to your feedback. And Joydeep, you and I will just go and answer questions which people have put in.
Yes.
And this will be available on YouTube also. Bahut bahut shukriya, Joydeep. Appreciate it. All of you have an amazing set. Hey, another thing, before we go, I'll tell you another interesting thing. This Friday, this Friday that's coming, I'm coming live on Book My Show, on a very interesting show. It's called Dil Pe Mat Le Yaar. फिर मुस्कुराएगा इंडिया, शुरुआत होगी आपसे आज से. So how we can turn the present scenario into something which can bring a smile to our lip and a twinkle in our eye. So Dil Pe Mat Le Yaar happens on Book My Show this Friday. Look forward to meeting you all. Thank you, Joydeep. Some more conversations ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Onek dhanyawad. Thank you so much. You all have a great Sunday.